Your friend just texted you a Zillow link at 9:47 p.m. You open it, and you're looking at a beige 1,400 square foot ranch in a cul-de-sac you've never heard of. The kitchen has stock white cabinets. The bathroom has a pedestal sink from a company that went bankrupt in 2009, a driveway that fits 1 and 1-2 cars, a yard the size of a parking space, and a listing agent who calls it, and I quote, a charming starter home. Price tag $520,000. Your friend makes $78,000 a year, and somewhere outside Wilmington, Delaware, a 24-year-old who has never seen this house just signed off on a loan that will outlive their marriage. That is the moment this video exists for. My name is Sam, and today we're answering a question nobody in real estate wants answered honestly, because honest answers cost them money. When should the average American actually buy a house in 2026? And when should they run in the opposite direction? The math is specific, and for most of you, it's not looking great yet. So let's start with the uncomfortable truth. The median home in America right now costs $408,800. Mortgage rates are sitting at 3%. Run the numbers: 20% down, 30-year fixed, add property taxes, insurance, and basic maintenance. You're looking at roughly $3,000 a month. To afford that at the standard 28% rule, you need to earn about $128,000 a year. The median American household earns $86,185. That's a $27.00 gap between what the average family earns and what the average house costs. That's not a gap, that's a canyon, and the bank is standing on the edge of it holding a loan application and a pen. Now, I'm not saying don't ever buy a house. Owning a home, done correctly, is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools a normal American has. The median homeowner has a net worth of $430,000. The median renter, $10. That is a 43x gap, so yes, buying works. The operative phrase is done correctly. In 2026, doing it correctly is brutally specific, and about 70% of you watching are about to do it incorrectly. Here's what people miss. The house itself is almost the cheapest part of owning a house. When you buy, you're not just buying the mortgage. You're buying closing costs, 2 to 5% of the price, $8,000 to $20. Zeros in that disappear the second you sign. You're buying property taxes. In New Jersey and Illinois, over 2% of home value every year, forever increasing. You're buying homeowners insurance, which is up 46% since 2021. In Florida, the average premium is over $7,000 a year. Louisiana insurers just filed for a 58% hike for 2026. Insurance loan is now 9% of the typical monthly mortgage payment, the highest share ever recorded. And then there's maintenance. Finance gurus tell you to budget 1% of home value per year. On a home built before 2010, the real number is closer to 5%. A new roof in 2026, $7,500 to $24,000. HVAC, $7,500 to $13,000. Water heater, $800. You will pay all of these. Not maybe, will. Homes are machines that slowly disassemble themselves, and you are the one holding the wrench and the checkbook. Here's the simplest framework for this entire debate. Think of renting like paying for a hotel. You pay for the night, money's gone, fine. Think of owning like paying for a hotel you also have to repair. Either way, you're paying for the night. The only difference is who fixes the toilet when it breaks at 2 a.m. A Canadian portfolio manager named Ben Felix calculated the total unrecoverable cost of owning, interest, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and opportunity cost on your down payment at about 5 to 7% of the home's value per year. On a $500,000 house, that's $20,900 every single month before you've touched a single dollar of principal. If your rent for a comparable place is below that, renting isn't throwing money away, it's actually throwing less money away. Sit with that. Now, when should you actually buy? 5 questions. Answer them honestly. Question 1. Will you genuinely still be in this city in 5 to 7 years? Not hoping, not planning, staying. The round-trip transaction cost on buy plus sell is 10 to 15% of home value. On a $400,000 home, that's $40,000 to $60,000 in pure friction. The first marriage divorce rate peaks around year 5. Jobs change. Be honest about the odds. Question 2. After you close, do you still have 3 to 6 months of expenses in a savings account untouched? If buying drains your emergency emergency fund to zero, you're not buying a house. You're buying a foreclosure on a 5-month delay. Question 3. Is your total housing cost, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, HOA, PMI, under 28% of gross income, and is total debt under 36%? Banks approve you up to 43%. 43% is the we think you probably won't default number. 28 to 36 is the you'll actually be okay number. The bank does not care if you're okay. Know the difference. Question 4. What is your city's price-to-rent ratio? Median home price divided by annual rent for a comparable place. Under 15, buying is clearly better. 15 to 20, coin flip. 21 to 25, rent. Over 25, the math is yelling at you. San Jose is 45. Detroit is 6 to 8. Your city has a number. Go look it up. It'll tell you more than any real estate agent ever will. Question 5. Is your life stable enough that a 30-year bet on your future makes sense? Relationship settled, career settled, not in the middle of a major transition. If 3 big things about your life are in flux, wait. 5 yeses, you're a candidate. Anything else, you're not. Doesn't matter what the bank told you. Here's what happens when people ignore this. Zia and Kent. She's 31, he's 33. Teacher and software support rep. Combined $138,000 a year in Denver. They find a house at $575,000. Mortgage broker says approved. All-in monthly cost about $4,800. That's 42% of their gross income on housing. Bank says fine. Math says disaster. Month 3, HVAC dies. $8,400 on a credit card. Month 7, Kent's company does a reorg. Hours drop 20%. They're $600 short every month. Month 11, Zia is pregnant, which is wonderful, and also costs $15. Zero out of pocket before the baby arrives. By month 14, behind on the credit card, behind on the HOA, haven't touched retirement in a year. They're a teacher and a tech guy making a $138,000. They're not irresponsible. The difference is their parents' house costs 3 times their income. Zia and Kent's cost 4.5 times theirs. That is not the same game. So, when should you not buy? If you might move in 5 years, if the down payment wipes out your savings, if your debt to income is above 43%, if your price to rent ratio is over 25 because rent is throwing money away, we already covered the hotel thing because your parents bought at your age, because your friend just bought. You have no idea if they're eating ramen behind that freshly painted door. Fatigue is slow motion emotion, and emotion is the most expensive ingredient in any financial decision because you think the house will appreciate a lot. The real historical appreciation of U.S. housing after inflation is 0. 4% to 1. 3% per year. If your plan requires 5% forever, that's not homeownership. That's gambling with a driveway. Now here's what they never tell you. The geography changes everything. In Detroit, it's currently 24% cheaper per month to own than to rent. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Kansas City, price to rent ratios of 11 to 16. The math works. If you live in one of these cities and hit the 5-question checklist, buy the house. Genuinely. The problem is most of you don't live in Cleveland. You live in Denver or Austin or San Diego, where the median home costs $500,000 to $600,000 and the local math has quietly broken. This is the real story of American housing in 2026. It's not a buyer's market or a seller's market. It's 2 completely different markets pretending to be one country. Here's the honest landing. If you're a median American household earning $86,000, living in a high-cost metro, looking at a $400,000 starter home at 3%, you should not buy in 2026. Not because you're irresponsible, because the math is broken and buying anyway doesn't fix the math. It just transfers the damage from the system to your life. Rent something you can afford. Invest the difference. Watch your price to rent ratio. Revisit in 12 to 18 months. If you're in an affordable Midwestern city with a price to rent under 15 and 5 yeses on the checklist, buy the house. You're in the right place at the right time. The housing industry has spent 40 years telling Americans that buying is always right, renting is always a waste, and you should stretch as far as the bank will let you. Says this because they get paid whether or not you sleep at night. The only person in that room who loses if the math is wrong is the one signing the papers. And that friend who texted you the Zillow link at 9:47 p.m. Send them this video, not to rain on their parade, because you actually want them to have a parade in 3 years instead of a foreclosure in 2. The real flex in 2026 is running the numbers, looking at the spreadsheet, and being brave enough to say, nope, not today.